man who brought his father to the hospital, his 95-year-old father, was on his deathbed. And he was going to do an emergency surgery, but the prognosis was like less than 1% survival rate. This was a last-ditch effort, almost like a bracha levatala, a blessing in vain, but you do what you can. It's your father. And while they were there getting ready for the surgery, a soldier, Chayal, the Israeli army, walked past the room. And this religious Hasidic son who saw the soldier said, "Could you please come here?" He said, "Sure, sure. How can I help?" This was a secular soldier, wasn't even wearing a kippah. And the Hasidic man said to him, you fight in the Israeli army?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "You put your life on the line for the rest of us?" He goes, "Yeah." So would you please give my father a blessing? He says, "What do you mean? I'm not even religious." He says, "You don't understand. There's such a power to a Jew who risks his life to save other Jews. If you could please give my father a blessing." So the soldier takes out his beret, puts it on his head, and the Hasidic man helped him with the words as he gave a blessing to his father, and tears were coming down his eyes as he said words of prayer, prayers perhaps he hasn't recited in decades. And after he shared the blessing, he asked the Hasidic man, "By any chance, do you have a pair of tefillin I could put on?" He says, "Actually, I do." And this might have been the first time since the man's bar mitzvah that he put on tefillin. But I have to admit, not all stories end well. And the man's father, the 95-year-old man, did not survive. But the last thing that he saw, the last thing in his life that he saw was his own son helping a fellow Jew to share a blessing, to put on tefillin. And those were his last images right before he went up to heaven. In Judaism, we have two types of soldiers, and we need both of them. One type is a soldier who fights for us physically, puts his life on the line, keeps us safe. And that person is a kadosh, is a holy one. And a second soldier is a soldier in God's army who learns Torah, who sustains us spiritually, who gives us the merits so that the physical soldiers can be successful. I am so honored and proud to have two sons, one of whom is serving as an Israeli paratrooper, physically keeping us safe, and one of whom is learning in yeshiva in God's army, spiritually keeping us safe. So as we head towards a day to celebrate Israel, to recognize how fortunate we are to be back in our homeland, it's also a time to reflect on those who gave their lives and continue to give of their lives to keep us safe and to enable us to have this homeland. And for those of us that are not necessarily in either one of those armies just yet, we can all contribute to help with the ultimate cause. Because being in Israel is an amazing, amazing step in the right direction. But it's not enough. There are still suicide bombings. There are still mothers without children and children without mothers. There are people who are sick. There are people who hate. People who are fighting. And perhaps if each of us can join the fight by adding an extra mitzvah into our lives, an extra bit of time to study Torah, then maybe in that merit, we could bring not just all of our soldiers home safely, but redeem the entire world. Thank you all so much.